For the first time, the US government has admitted that these things are real. They are not swamp gas, they are not weather balloons, and they are not our own secret technology. Luis Elizondo, former director of the Pentagon's UFO program, AATIP. For decades, people have spoken of so-called UFOs, but generally, this phenomenon has hardly been taken seriously. On the contrary, it has mostly been mocked by the media and other official institutions. Many people, scientists, military personnel, and even government officials have faced ridicule for discussing UFOs seriously. Apollo 14 astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell once said, "The UFO phenomenon has been the subject of disinformation in order to deflect attention and create confusion, so the truth doesn't come out. It's been treated with ridicule and derision instead of investigation." Harry Reid, former US Senate Majority Leader, believed this attitude was stifling UFO research. The truth is, very little is known about the subject because of the ridicule associated with it. Along the same lines, scientist, UFO researcher and astronomer Dr. Jacques Vallée noted that the ridicule associated with the subject has prevented good science from being done. Is it not strange, then, that the same media, which until recently mocked or ignored the topic of UFOs, are suddenly changing their stance? Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, Christopher Mellon, said, "For decades, pilots avoided reporting or were laughed at when they did. UFOs were an untouchable subject in defense circles. Now, Congress is holding hearings, and the Pentagon is taking it seriously. What changed?" Discussing UFOs on Fox News television, host Tucker Carlson noted, "For decades, the media told us that UFOs weren't real, that it was all a joke. Now, suddenly, the Pentagon releases footage, and we're supposed to accept it like it's no big deal." Investigative journalist Leslie Kean also seemed bemused by the sudden change of heart. For years, the media ignored solid reports from pilots and military officials. But once the New York Times ran its 2017 article, suddenly the conversation changed. Why now? One must ask, is the public being gently prepared for changes in their worldview? The slow, controlled release of UFO-related information is part of a larger narrative shift. We are being conditioned to accept that we are not alone. Governments have known this for decades, but feared the societal implications. Now, they are gradually shifting public perception so that when full disclosure happens, it will not cause panic but curiosity. Dr. Stephen Greer, founder of the Disclosure Project. We are on the verge of one of the greatest paradigm shifts in human history. The scientific community is beginning to take the search for extraterrestrial intelligence seriously, and governments are slowly acknowledging that there are things in the sky they cannot explain. The question is, what else do they know that they are not telling us? Dr. Michio Kaku, theoretical physicist, author, science communicator. Governments do not just suddenly change their stance on a topic as controversial as UFOs without reason. The slow release of information, the shift in media coverage, and the increased public discussions in high-level political circles all suggest that we are being prepared for something bigger. Ross Coulthart, investigative journalist, author of In Plain Sight. We're seeing a dramatic increase in the number of UFO sightings being reported, not just by civilians, but also by trained military personnel and intelligence officials. But this does not mean that UFO reports are a recent phenomenon. As UFO researcher Richard Dolan notes, there are documented cases of UFO encounters going back centuries, long before modern aviation. What has changed is our ability to record and analyze these events more thoroughly. When we examine the written records of ancient cultures, we repeatedly encounter divine figures and beings who came from the sky, descended from the clouds, or appeared from other worlds. As Giorgio A. Tsoukalos, host of Ancient Aliens, notes, virtually every culture speaks of beings that descended from the sky and imparted knowledge to humanity. These stories are not unique to one region, but appear in myths and religious texts across the world. Eric von Däniken, author of Chariots of the Gods, states, "Our ancestors witnessed events they did not understand, and recorded them as best they could. When they described flying chariots, beings descending from the sky, and metal machines, were they really talking about gods, or were they trying to explain advanced visitors? Scientist, astronomer, and UFO researcher Dr. Jacques Vallée notes, there are numerous reports from antiquity of objects in the sky that behaved in ways inconsistent with natural phenomena or known human technology of the time. Zechariah Sitchin, author of The 12th Planet, wrote, the ancient Sumerians wrote extensively about the Anunnaki, beings who came from the sky and influenced their civilization. Dr. Robert Temple, author of The Sirius Mystery, investigated African tribes and stated, the Dogon tribe of Mali claims to have received knowledge of the Sirius star system from sky beings, known as the Nommo. Their understanding of astronomical facts that were unknown to modern science until recently is astonishing. Throughout history, various cultures have recorded encounters with mysterious objects. In the year 22 of the third month of winter, at the 6th hour of the day, the scribes of the House of Life saw a circle of fire that was coming in the sky. It had no head, its breath had a foul odor. Its body was 1 rod in length and 1 rod in width. It had no voice, and from that circle of fire many more came forth. They shone brighter than the sun. The Tully Papyrus, Egypt, 15th century BC. Something like a round shield was seen flying through the sky. Report from 98 BC in Rome. At sunset, a circular object, like a burning shield, traversed the sky from west to east. Report from 217 BC in Rome. Book of Prodigies, Julius Obsequens, 4th century AD, Rome. At Arpi, a shield was seen in the sky, gleaming red and moving swiftly across the heavens. Titus Livius, 1st century BC, Rome. At the Battle of Phrygia, 74 BC. Suddenly the sky burst asunder, and a huge flame-like body was seen to fall between the two armies. In shape it was most like a wine jar, and in color like molten silver. Plutarch, Greek historian, 1st century AD. It has often been seen in these parts that a ship with its crew, seemingly floating in the air, appeared as if navigating through the sky itself. Otia Imperialia, Gervase of Tilbury, medieval historian, 13th century AD, England. In the night of the Holy Innocents, the sky was seen to open and bright. Glowing wheels were observed flying across the heavens with great speed. Chronica Majora, Matthew of Paris, English chronicler, 13th century AD. During the Saxon Wars, as the Frankish army besieged Sigeberg Castle, suddenly 2 large flaming shields appeared in the sky, hovering over the church. The enemy, terrified, fled in confusion. The Annales Loricense, Frankish Chronicles, 9th century AD, France and Germany. At sunrise, many men and women saw a terrifying apparition in the sky. Red, blue, and black spheres, along with cylinders, appeared and fought a violent battle. Some of them crashed to the earth in flames. Hans Glaser, The Nuremberg Celestial Event, 1561, Germany. On August 7th, many large black spheres appeared, moving rapidly back and forth in front of the sun. They clashed together, emitting great red flashes, and then vanished. The Basel Celestial Event, 1566, Switzerland. 3 fiery crosses and 2 great glowing wheels appeared in the sky, moving erratically before disappearing into the clouds. Samuel Coccius, German Chronicle, 17th century AD. The culture that has left behind the most extensive sources is undoubtedly the ancient Indian culture. Ancient Indian texts describe flying crafts called Vimanas with remarkable detail. Some descriptions include instructions on how to operate them, their propulsion systems, and even battles fought in the skies. Dr. Richard L. Thompson, Alien Identities. The Vedic texts of India describe sophisticated flying machines called Vimanas, some of which were powered by Mercury engines. These accounts are thousands of years old, yet they resemble modern concepts of aircraft and spacecraft. David Hatcher Childress, Technology of the Gods. The Mahabharata and Ramayana contain descriptions of great battles in the sky, with what sound like advanced weapons and flying crafts. Were these divine myths, or were they accounts of real events witnessed by ancient people? Eric von Däniken, Chariots of the Gods. The descriptions of Vimanas in ancient Sanskrit texts are fascinating because they hint at technologies far beyond what we associate with early civilizations. Whether these accounts are literal or metaphorical, they are worthy of serious study. Vedic scholar Dr. Subhash Kark. There are hundreds of descriptions in Indian texts about flying machines that traveled across great distances and were used in warfare. These accounts suggest a deep knowledge of aerodynamics, long before modern aviation. Dr. V. Raghavan, former head of Sanskrit studies at Madras University. Ancient Indian documents like the Vaimanika Shastra provide technical details on flying machines. If these were simply myths, why do they contain descriptions resembling modern aerospace engineering? Dr. Roberto Pinotti, Italian UFO researcher. The Vimanas are machines which move in the air from place to place, continent to continent, and planet to planet. They are propelled by a force unknown to us today. Maharshi Bharadwaj, ancient Indian sage, author of Vaimanika Shastra. The descriptions of aerial warfare in the Mahabharata bear an eerie resemblance to modern dogfights. If we are to believe these texts, ancient civilizations had advanced technology beyond what we previously thought possible. Lieutenant Colum W. Gill, British officer, 20th century. The literature of India is full of accounts of flying machines and divine chariots that could travel not only through the sky, but also into space. The level of detail suggests more than mere mythology. Sir William Jones, British scholar, 18th century. Ancient Indian texts describe Vimanas that could travel to the stars. If we found these descriptions in a modern science fiction novel, we wouldn't be surprised. But these texts are thousands of years old. How did they know? Giorgio A. Tsoukalos, ancient astronaut theorist. The first important piece of information we receive tells us that in earlier ages, contact with higher dimensional beings was normal. Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner Dr. John Mack states, indigenous and ancient societies did not see encounters with otherworldly beings as something bizarre or threatening. Instead, they saw them as encounters with the divine, with ancestors, or with cosmic teachers. It is our Western materialistic worldview that has pathologized these experiences and labeled them as unreal. The Srimad Bhagavatam states that high Devas once openly appeared on earth, interacting with sages and kings. This suggests that knowledge of non-human intelligences was well documented and accepted in Vedic society. Dr. Richard L. Thompson, Sadaputta Dasa. The Vedic texts, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, explain how higher beings, the Devas, interacted with humans. This is not mythology, this is actual history. The material world is only a small fraction of existence, and even within it, there are various planetary systems with beings of higher intelligence and capabilities. In earlier ages, the Devas were visible to humans, guiding and overseeing their progress. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. From the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.16.3, after Maharaja Parikshit accepted Kripakarya as his spiritual master, he performed 3 Asvamedha ceremonies on the banks of the Ganges. At these sacrificial festivals, the demigods, Devas, were also present, and even ordinary people could see them. Maharaja Parikshit lived from 3138 to 3042 BCE. The Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas give us glimpses of a world where beings of higher dimensions were a part of human experience. The decline of spiritual vision over time has caused modern humanity to lose touch with these realities, but they were once a normal part of existence. Sri Aurobindo, Indian philosopher, mystic, and Vedic scholar. The descriptions of the Devas in ancient Indian texts are incredibly detailed. They are not just gods in the Western sense, but beings who interact with humanity, sometimes appearing in physical form. In the Rig Veda 10.1.25.1-5, the Devas and the cosmic order, goddess Vak, the personification of cosmic speech, describes her presence among the Devas and humans. I move among the Devas, among the heavenly beings, and among mortals as well. Whomever I choose, I make mighty. I bend the bow for Rudra so that his arrow strikes its mark. I make the fire blaze and the sun rise. I sustain the cosmos. I sustain all beings. The Srimad Bhagavatam 1.16.3 suggests that the Devas were still present on earth at the beginning of Kali Yuga, interacting openly with humans. In those days, the great Devas would still appear visibly upon the earth, guiding the virtuous and punishing the wicked. The age was not yet fully fallen into darkness, and beings of higher realms still walked among men. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.1-3, Krishna speaks of an ancient transmission of knowledge from celestial beings, Devas, to human rulers, which later faded. I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to Vivasvan, the sun Deva. Vivasvan taught it to Manu, the progenitor of humankind, and Manu, in turn, taught it to Ikshvaku. In this way, the royal sages received this knowledge in a continuous tradition. But over time, this science was lost to the world. The Mahabharata, Adi Parva 19.14-16, describes the celestial realm of the Devas and their visits to earth. There exists a place beyond mortal reach, known as Amaravati, where the Devas reside in eternal splendor. From there, they descend at will, appearing before sages, kings, and those who call upon them with devotion. It is by their grace that humans receive knowledge of the higher worlds. In the Ramayana, Yuddha Kanda 120.15-18, the Devas actively intervene in a human war by sending divine weapons and a celestial chariot. Then from the heavens, Indra, the king of the Devas, beheld the battle of Rama and Ravana. Seeing Ravana wield weapons of immense power, Indra spoke to Matali, his charioteer. Take my divine chariot and present it to Rama so that he may fight with celestial strength. And thus the chariot of the gods descended onto the battlefield. The Srimad Bhagavatam 10.20.48 states that the Devas govern natural elements like rain, fertility, and cosmic balance. The Devas, the celestial controllers, shower rain upon the earth, bless the fields, and sustain all beings. They act in accordance with cosmic law, ensuring the balance of nature and the sustenance of human life. The Vayu Purana, chapter 39, describes Vimanas, the flying vehicles of the Devas, resembling modern descriptions of UFOs. The Devas traverse the vast sky in their celestial Vimanas, glowing like 1,000 suns. Their crafts, adorned with gold and precious gems, move without sound, propelled by forces unknown to mortals. With these, they move between the worlds in the blink of an eye. The Atharva Veda 4.36.1 suggests that Devas are still present in subtle forms, guarding knowledge and occasionally revealing themselves to chosen individuals. The Devas watch over us, holding the secrets of creation and the mysteries of the universe. They move unseen among us, revealing their wisdom only to those who seek with pure hearts. The Vishnu Purana 2.8.1-5 suggests that in earlier times, Devas and humans coexisted openly, but over time, humans lost their spiritual vision. There was a time when men and Devas walked together when the presence of celestial beings was neither questioned nor hidden. But as the world entered the darker ages, humans lost their ability to see beyond the material, and the Devas withdrew from their sight. The Brahmanda Purana, chapter 27, describes aerial battles between the Devas and Asuras, resembling accounts of sky wars in other ancient cultures. A great war took place in the heavens, where the Devas and Asuras clashed in battle. Their weapons sent forth blinding flashes of light, and the sky trembled with the sound of thunder. Cities in the sky burned with celestial fire as the forces of good and evil waged their war beyond the sight of mortal men. In the Bhagavad Gita 3.11, Krishna describes the Devas as cosmic administrators who maintain balance in the universe. The Devas nourish you with the gifts of nature, and in return you should offer them sacrifice and respect. By working together with the Devas, all beings will prosper and live in harmony. The Rig Veda 1.164.46 suggests that the Devas are different manifestations of the same cosmic intelligence. They call it Indra, Mitra, Varuna, Agni, and it is the celestial Garuda of the noble wing. The sages describe the one being in many ways, calling it Agni, Yama, and Matarishvan. The Srimad Bhagavatam 10.20.48 suggests that the Devas govern the natural world. The Devas, the celestial controllers, shower rain upon the earth, bless the fields, and sustain all beings. They act in accordance with cosmic law, ensuring the balance of nature and the sustenance of human life. Dr. David Frawley, Vedic scholar and author of The Gods Within, states, "In the Vedic tradition, the Devas are described as divine forces that reside within the cosmos and within ourselves. The great rishis, sages, were able to communicate with them through meditation and Vedic rituals. The Devas are not just cosmic beings, they represent aspects of universal consciousness, guiding humanity toward higher states of awareness." A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, author of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sums up the Devas quite nicely. The Devas are not imaginary beings. They are real personalities with great power and responsibility. They control the elements, direct the laws of material nature, and maintain the functioning of the universe. Although the Devas are far superior to human beings, they are still bound by karma and the cycle of birth and death. Only by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, can even the greatest Deva attain liberation. Graham Hancock, author of Supernatural and Fingerprints of the Gods, asks, were they extraterrestrials, interdimensional visitors, or a race of advanced humans who once coexisted with us? These questions remain open, but what is clear is that the ancient Hindus took their presence very seriously. Part 2 will be ready soon. Thanks for watching.